Welcome to my YouTube channel, The Global Arena. Today I'm discussing Lebanon's economy. Poverty shoots up as Lebanese economy falls. Now imagine if Boris Johnson or Donald Trump were obliged to form a joint government with Angela Merkel or with Macron. The result would be paralyzed and lack of accountability as each party pulls the country in opposite direction and blames other for their state of limbo. This has been the state of affairs in Lebanon since Doha Agreement 2008. The Doha formula imposed government of national unity between Prime Minister Saad Hariri's pro-Saudi camp and Hezbollah pro-Iran camp and their respective internal allies. A sleepless night in Lebanon in capital Beirut where hundreds of thousands came to the street because the national currency pound lost its 25% value in just 2 days. Angry protesters are back on the street. Everything has been expensive. All the prices have risen. They can't afford anything even to buy bread, the local protesters said. Situations are worst across the Lebanon. Similarly, situations are violent in northern city Tripoli where ATMs smashed, and situations are also worse in Beirut. One of the protesters said that none of the things achieved since October 2017 that we demanded. People cannot afford to pay rent or eat anything because a few have jobs and 6 out of 10 young people are out of job in Lebanon. Due to the coronavirus, Lebanon is under lockdown. One reason is also this: Lebanon plunges towards mass poverty and virus crisis. People have lost their purchasing power and state has no plan to do anything. Now Lebanese demand that government should resign and leave. Protesters also clashed with security, burnt tires, chanting slogans and setting fires to banks for demanding actions for government. According to the Rami Khoury, he is journalism professor in American University of Beirut. He said that 65 to 75% of Lebanese are sinking into the poverty because the value of Lebanese pound seems extremely fluctuating and pushing country in a worst economic turmoil in decades. Saudi Arabia withdrew $4 billion of aid to the Lebanese army and internal security forces, and no aid or deposit were forthcoming as economic and financial situation deteriorated. On the other side, Hezbollah controls a section of Beirut port where it pays no duty. The cumulative cost and economic impact of being cut off from its main economic partner eventually bankrupted the country. The fiscal and financial aspect with Lebanon's inability to service its state are a reflection of political factor. The government is also negotiating with IMF and the World Bank to secure aid and foreign investment, and the speaker announces an injection of dollars into the market because basic food is becoming unaffordable for many as people have lost their purchasing power and the state has no plan to do anything. Lebanon is under blaze. To answer this, let's understand the Lebanon. Let's go back to 1989, not quite the end of the Lebanese civil war, but definitely the beginning of the end of it. In 1989, the Lebanese leaders gathered in Saudi Arabia to sign the Taif Agreement, which set the foundation for Lebanese politics as we know it today. At the heart of the agreement was Lebanese principle of coexistence, which aimed to ensure the power was spread equally across the religious sects. This is important because it was about what the civil war was. In the first place, one of the leading architects of Taif Agreement was Rafiq Hariri, which was the father of the ex-PM Saad Hariri. Now let's go forward a bit, 2005. In February 2005, Rafiq Hariri was assassinated in a car bomb attack in downtown Beirut. It divided Lebanon into 2 camps, those who believed Syria and Hezbollah were behind Hariri's death and those who didn't believe, birthing Lebanon's 2 main political blocs, March 8 alliances and March 14 alliances. Now March 8 alliances is made up of Hezbollah and supported by Iran and led by President Mashal Aoun. March 14 alliances consist of future movements and supported by Saudi Arabia and led by ex-Prime Minister Saad. Both camps follows the lead of their foreign backers. What it has done is make Lebanon a victim of political paralysis where the government rarely agrees on new policies like during the garbage crisis in 2016. Now let's go to 2016. After 2 years of political deadlock, Lebanon's parliament finally agreed on the appointment of Mashal Aoun as president, who was only appointed after the Hararis and his camp gave their blessings. Lebanese politicians then went on a promise that the two blocs were ready to effectively work together. They even managed to approve a state budget for the first time in 12 years. Now fast forward to 2017. A climax came when Saad Hararis announces his resignation out of Riyadh and does little speculations that he was being forced to do so. He cites fear of assassination and interfering from Iran. Mashal Aoun and his government rejects Hararis' resignation and call for him to come back home. Hararis then arrives in Beirut, suspends his resignation and toned down his anti-Iran rhetoric. Let's talk about the complex political system of Lebanon. If you have been puzzled by Lebanon's complex governing system, you are probably not alone. So let's take a moment and break it down. It's a country that divides its political power along the religious and sectarian line, essentially trying to give everyone a piece of pie. Power sharing a whole different in Lebanon, and this thing maintains a fragile peace. Let's discuss background. The National Pact formed in 1943, which ended French mandate of country, created the modern-day states of Syria and Lebanon. Within Lebanon, the government was divided up so that the president would always be a Maronite Christian, the prime minister a Sunni Muslim, Speaker of Parliament a Shia Muslim, and seats in Parliament were set at the ratio of 6-5 in favor of the Christians. A constitutional amendment going against the spirit of National Pact elevated the role of presidency to the single most powerful position. This imbalances the power-stock tensions in an already fragile system, and with the influx of the Palestinians from the Arab-Israel war, the country was dragged into 15-year civil war. The era also saw the creation of Amal movement and the Hezbollah entrenching sectarian identities. Let's talk the second part of background, which is Second Republic. In 1989, Taif Agreement transformed much of the president authority to the cabinet and increased the number of Muslim MPs, finally closing the previous imbalance of power, which ended the civil war in following years, and the period called the Second Republic again. The country saw the first democratic elections in 20 years, with Rafiq Hararis becoming prime minister in 1992. He was assassinated 13 years later in 2005, and with segmented government still in place, sectarianism tensions remained. Rafiq Harari's son Saad formed his unity government in 2009 with Walid Jambald, head of 3 lakh strong Druze community, throwing his support behind Shia group Hezbollah and the Syrian Alawi government, shifting the balance of power in their favor. In 2016, Mashal Aoun won the presidency with the backing of Samir Geijia, another controversial politician with an incredible amount of influence. Let's discuss the current tensions. Lebanon protests, why it is a problem. For the first time, nationwide protest sending shockwaves to the system. Lebanon protests, mass revolt continues. Some protesters have come to bring down the sectarian-based regime. People should get position based on the competence. People were on the street so they could build a secular-based state. The tiny country Lebanon officially recognizes 18 religious sects. These sects are the major cause of the political dysfunction because its mechanism entrenched political divisions, and cooperation is very difficult among religious divisions. For example, last year Lebanon had general elections in 9 years. It took 12 years for budget to approved, 3 years for president to be elected after dozens of failed attempts. Cabinet decisions must be approved by 2/3 majority. Minor issues are very hard to be solved there, such as the garbage issue. Critics named sectarianism for the Lebanese deep problem. Hundreds of thousands of protesters have essentially put aside their differences to demand change and are calling for an overhaul for the entire political system. So will the people and government be able to find common ground, or it is a time for the Third Republic? So these are the complexities through which Lebanon is passing through. Due to the complex political system and deep-rooted sectarianism, peace remained fragile and hard to restore. So this was all about today's topic. I hope you find this informative. Kindly share and subscribe. Thanks for watching.